Percy Jackson.
Hey guys, do you like my hat? This is Shannon. I wanted to preview this video to say up front, there's a couple times in this video we accidentally misgender Mark Oshiro. We know that they use they them pronouns, that they are non-binary. I myself are gender fluid, but sometimes when you're talking live, they just accidentally come out. We apologize for that. Great, he was live with Rick. So I apologize for that. Look out for that. It's in the beginning parts of the video. But other than that, I hope you enjoy this video. If you like this sort of content, please like and subscribe, comment down below. Check out our Patreon if you want to do that. Mandi started making a guide, a Google Maps guide of all the locations of every single Percy Jackson place while she's reading the books to her 12-year-old son, if that's something you'd be interested in checking up with. Other than that, just enjoy the video, and I hope you have just as fun as we did watching this video as we did when we were there.
So we're together in California right now. We went to the Court of the Dead book tour yesterday. And yeah, so first of all, how's California so far?
Good. It's been really nice, besides when I puked 7 times.
But yeah, so we spent most of the day out. We went to Half Moon Bay. Trying to think.
Half Moon Bay is the beach.
Yes, it's the beach.
So took lots of videos and then puked a bunch of times. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, the comedy of errors of this trip also was my car broke right before, and so we had to Uber everywhere. But the event was great. Okay, so we can get started on the event. So the Court of the Dead event was at the Fox Theater here in Redwood City. And it was held like a fake court kind of situation where it started out with a bailiff who introduced what the charges are against Rick and Mark. And then the judge came and they talked about all of the charges, which essentially was different changes that both of them have been through. Yeah, so it was really funny because both of them incorporated so many like personal pictures from their lifetime. I mean, did you even know that Rick played music before?
Okay, so the other day Rick did a random live, and he literally was like, everyone's really sad, so I'm just gonna do this random live in the beginning of it.
You know, it can get pretty dark out there these days. There's a lot going on in the world, and sometimes you just need a reason to get together and have some fun and talk to people who really love books and love reading and hopefully have a good time. So
he had like 6 guitars in his office.
There's my guitars, some of them. Yes, I do have a thing for guitars. There's my other guitar, my other guitar. Yes, there's a ukulele down there, which I don't get to play very much.
And so I was like, oh, he must really like music, but I don't think I knew that he was in a band when he was in college, and that was the way that he like made money during college to pay for stuff when he was getting his degree.
Yeah, and then Mark also was in a band at one point, which was really cool. It's funny, he calls himself Gay Latino Nico, and I love that he owns that because it's definitely why he got tapped in for that book, for The Sun and the Star and Court of the Dead. Also, Court of the Dead was an interesting story. So the way that they came up with this was Rick, in passing, had said something like, I wonder where the Minotaur gets his underwear from. Like, does he knit it himself? Which, like, kudos to Rick for knowing that underwear is a knitted material, not a woven. But by the way, but yeah, so he's like, I wonder if he knits it himself. Like, where does the Minotaur get his underwear? And because Mark already had Nico and Will in his brain, he was like, these ideas are swimming around. I got to do something with this. But of course, we're not caught up on the Will and Nico books just yet. So, but it did make me excited to get caught up. And it also made me curious to read some of Mark's books, like the first one especially, because that's the one that Rick read, where he was like, this is the guy for writing Will.
Yeah, that's the one that I knew. I realized that I forgot that I knew Mark Oshiro because he wrote Anger is a Gift, which was his first debut. And then also in like 2018, so many people were reading that book and loved it. And I was meaning to read it and just never did.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been around for a while. The event was fun just to like, there were people in line like giving out like what they called ambrosia, like little like chocolate things for people. Everyone was dressed up, which is always fun to see everyone wearing like the same stuff. They had both of their books on sale, which I was glad they had Mark stuff, and I think all of them were autographed because we both got Core of the Dead, and then I got the first Kane Chronicles book, and she got a couple of the Greek gods. It's like right there.
Yeah, Greek gods are Greek heroes.
Yeah, the one where like Percy narrates about the Greek gods, and all of them were autographed by Rick, so that was cool. I didn't expect all of them to be autographed for some reason.
Yeah, just the Court of the Dead. But they took the time to do all of them, which is cool. Yeah, and I kind of feel bad I didn't get any Mark's books, but like I bought enough books for the event. Yeah. I started out with Rick's like before we walked in. I kind of wish I would have waited. Yeah, and trying to think what else was really cool during it. I mean, it was just really nice to see the discussion about like all of the changes that these two have gone through over their careers, because I mean, we're both like kind of at an age where it's like, what do we do with the rest of our lives?
It's always, that's like that reminder that I keep in my head is that Rick was like 41 because Percy is 20 years old. So he was 41, which I'm going to be in January, when he put out the first Percy Jackson book. Like, he thought his life was just going to be his life. Yeah. At that point, he had no idea what was about to happen. And so, we're not that old yet. Yeah. Like, they, like, totally changed their lives. And even Mark, I'm pretty sure they have to be around... Oh, yeah, he said he was born in 1983. So, they're 2 years older than me. And so, they're, like, the same general age. Like, they had no idea that they were going to be co-writing Rick Riordan books. And one story from the thing that was really sweet was that Mark said that he has been going to schools and where they're having the kids read The Sun and the Star, like as the first Percy Jackson book, which is like, whoa. But whenever he does that, kids there come out to him for the first time. Yeah. And it's just so sweet that they get to do things like that because they wrote this book, and that now that this other book is out and it's the #1 in the New York Times, they're going to be able to do it even more.
One of the great things that has at least been the case for Rick and I since The Sun and the Stars come out and now Court of the Dead isn't just the success of it. Like, yes, it is an amazing thing to be on a bestseller list. It's an amazing thing to be able to do. This tour has been ridiculous. Like, there are so many of you, and you're all yelling, and you're doing cosplay, and it is just so, the energy is incredible. I've never been so overstimulated in my life. But here is the thing. Since The Sun and the Star came out, I have been lucky enough that I, quite a few times a year, get asked to do school visits specifically for The Sun and the Star, where that book is part of kids' curriculum. Not only that, it's often their introduction to Percy Jackson, which is also wild to me that that's the first book you're in. I'm like, sure, let's throw you in the deep end. All right. And something has been happening at these visits that I want to tell you about, which is I'll do a presentation that is not all that different from this, minus that dude over there. I'm just baiting him all night. All right. And the class will be over, the kids will shuffle out, but almost every time, 1 or 2 kids sticks behind, and they wait until everyone leaves, and then they come up to me, and then they come out. And they tell me that they're gay or trans or bi or pan. They tell me what their pronouns are. And almost every time as well, they say, you're the first person I've ever told. Now, it's beautiful. It's also heavy because it's like, what is, this is who you want to come with? Really? Like, I know I'm chaotic, but come on. But I also think about that can't happen without all of you who maybe aren't part of this community or don't relate necessarily on that level, because you making these books as popular as they are allows safety for other people. And we get to see the results of it from the people we've met, even some of the people we've met met today who talk about this book changing their lives. Like, hi, friends. So all this to say, yes, we're changing the world, and we're going to continue doing so.
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the highlights for us, like, in terms of what we do for this podcast, having them, because one of the charges against them, all of the changes that they've done, the final charge was changing the world. And so that's where this anecdote came up of, like, you know, teaching people empathy and respect, and having people see these characters that they care deeply about go through certain things, which is exactly why we made this podcast. So yeah, for us, that was the moment of, like, this is why we do what we do.
I will say the book trailer that they played for Core of the Dead, I had never seen that before, and that was really cute how they showed his
the Cocoa Puffs.
The Cocoa Puffs, and it, like, cracks me up. There is one part where they showed, like, a dry erase board, and on it, all I saw on it was, brooding is not a love language.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoever came up with that, you're really funny. You're really funny, because Nico thinks that brooding is a love language. Absolutely. Yeah. He would sit in the corner wearing all black, listening to My Chemical Romance, and be staring at Will, like, and Will would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's very much their dynamic from the books that I have read before. But yeah, the event was really fun. It was really fun to see everyone really excited about everything. It was really funny seeing their pictures of them growing up.
Yeah.
Like, Mark had, like, an emo phase.
Yeah,
really,
like,
funny.
Full, like, he had a mohawk, and then I think I saw a nose piercing. He had snake bites in it. And then playing guitar. There was one picture that came up when he was in his playing music era, super emo, where his friend's like, a friend was in the picture, and he asked the friend, can I show this? And the friend's like, that's the straightest you've ever looked in a picture.
And he had bunny ears on.
Yeah, he had bunny ears. But yeah. And he doesn't know what the bunny ears were for anymore. That was really funny.
Idea. That was really funny.
Yeah.
And it was fun seeing, like, Rick's pictures of him in college, and then when they showed, like, him and Becky getting married when their kids were little. But the pictures that were really funny were the ones of him when he was a teacher.
Yes.
And he was dressing up, and I was like, he would have been the best teacher in the entire world. Yeah. And it was fun because he taught, like, here, not here, like, but still in the Bay. And so he just kept mentioning, like, the names of the schools that he worked at, because people would actually know what they were talking about, and the different cities that, like, him and Becky lived in when they lived here. That was, like, made it more fun for to be in the Bay Area, because they actually lived here. And so you guys would know. It was funny, like, they would mention places they hated, and the crowd would, like, groan.
Yep. yeah, like Orangevale and so one of Mark's books is written in the Mission District. That's where I got married. So it's kind of interesting. With Mark, it was like, we should read his books eventually. That's the thought that I had. But, like, the cool thing for me, and, like, I have wanted to be an author forever, like, since I was in middle school. And so hearing Mark's story of getting tapped into the Percy series, and then him saying, Rick asked, are you familiar with Percy Jackson before he started? And he pulls up his, like, stack of books.
His, like, box sets.
Yeah.
Like, and Rick was like, oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they were on Zoom. And he's talking about how all of his Percy books have, like, Post-it notes of, like, little notes that he makes to himself. I make notes in my book. I think I did a video on this. And I'm a blasphemer, so I have the original, like, paperbacks, and they all have notes in them. But you know what? I'm keeping them forever. William can figure out what to do with them when I die.
This many years from now, we'll be fine. Yes. Oh, one thing, like, news-wise that they mentioned at the very end, they do the whole, like, thing where they're, like, being put on trial was really funny. They end it with, like, Hades calling and being like, what are you doing? You're not allowed to do this. Yeah. This is unauthorized. Get out of here right now. And then they're like, oh, we can ask you. They asked a couple fun. Oh, one fan question they asked that I did want to mention because it was so hilarious was somebody asked, like, what Will and Nico would dress up like for Halloween. And Mark was like, I have the perfect answer. And so perfect that Rick was like, I don't even want to give an answer because it's not going to be good as yours. So just say whatever yours is. And he said they should dress up as Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is like... That would be so funny. But the last thing they said was the thing that I think somebody else posted Rick explaining this, but he explained it, I think, a little bit clearer this time, was that they're going to collaborate more like he did with Mark, with other authors for books, and they're also thinking of doing that for TV too, so that they can expand on like the Camp Half-Blood stuff. They have all of the sets for Camp Half-Blood for the TV show, and there's the same kind of stuff he did with Mark. He wanted to do a book with somebody who was gay, since that's what Nico is, and felt like he couldn't do it himself. And so he read Anger is a Gift, and he was like, wow, this is a really good book. That's how him and Mark ended up working together. And so he was saying they have some people that they're talking to already for books in the same area of like expanding Camp Half-Blood some more with different people. And that's really exciting because I knew of Mark Oshiro, but I forgot about him after Anger is a Gift, after I like stopped reading for a while. And so it's fun to think of what other authors and what other people, like what other characters they'll like work with, because they could be anybody, like anyone from all the books.
That's one thing that I started thinking about when they're like, oh, we're looking for people to write with us. I was like, has anyone written a Demeter kid? Because that would be funny. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what I could do.
Or even like a book about Thalia. Like just Thalia, or like just her with the hunters and stuff.
It would be fun to see what she got up to in between like Battle of the Labyrinth and now. Because we know she was out there recruiting and she boss babed it up somehow. Yeah.
And I honestly don't know if she's been in any of the books since like The Last Olympian. I don't remember.
This coming Monday, we're reading 13, 14, and 15 in The Last Olympian. And, like, oh my gosh. So there's that. And then we have Prometheus showing a flashback of May 2 coming up. So, yeah, we're going to get some of that background. But
and they showed, like, a fun trailer thing for season 2.
Yeah.
It was just the trailer we've already seen, but it was really fun to see it on a big screen with everyone screaming.
Yes.
About the trailer. And it showed, like, a little bit of the documentary, behind the scenes documentary thing they put on Disney Plus last year for season 1. I think that's all they showed for the TV show, just to acknowledge that they did it, because that was one they're like, you changed formats.
Yeah, that was one of his charges.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So
and also with the Kane Chronicles, they mentioned that they submitted to Disney last week to try to get the Kane Chronicles like officially adapted by them, to basically submit all this stuff to be like, please let us make our show. And so they feel like they're closer. Rick said that they've been trying to do that one for like 7 years, which they have. I'm really glad they aren't doing it with Netflix anymore, because I don't like them. Every set sounds like a nightmare. Like, do you remember when they did the first season of Wednesday? And what's her name? Jenna Ortega?
Yeah.
She was talking about how she made up the dance thing that went viral herself.
And she had COVID during that.
Yeah, and she filmed that when she had COVID and was working like really long days. And I was just like, what is Netflix doing?
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure that they would have wanted to work with them in that kind of circumstance anyway. So I'm glad that Netflix eventually just like passed on it, where they can now try to get Disney to do it. But either way, that's like the next thing they're going to try to get adapted.
Yeah, so in terms of New Rome University and like grown up Percy and Annabeth, I know Rick has said before that he doesn't feel like he's the right person to write grown up Percy. So I feel like if we get any of them at the university, it's going to be another author, a co-author, or, like somebody just using the imprint.
Yeah, and that's not like out of the realm of possibility. Like, I think they've made a pretty clear point that they're open to anything when it comes to this stuff, as long as it's a good story.
Yeah, I know Tatiana's mentioned that it's one of her favorites. I feel Sky has mentioned she thinks it's underrated. I think so. A few of our friends have been mentioning it. I feel like the buzz around Kane Chronicles is just kind of growing. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. People would love the idea of an animated series too for one of these adaptations. I feel like people just go with that because they think that like doing live is going to be too hard. For this one, I don't know. Like, this one, maybe it actually does make more sense. I would have to look at how the gods work and how the magic system works in the Kane Chronicles, because maybe it would make more sense as an animated.
Yeah, it's just animated stuff takes a really long time.
Yes.
Like, a really long time. And I feel like people usually bring it up because they think if it's animated, it'll be exactly, like, an exact copy of the book. Because that's usually how they talk about it. Mm-hmm. Or they just don't want to have to see kids age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a good enough reason
It's not.
to make animators work for, like, years on end to make a series.
I wonder if, like, Magnus Chase could come next.
I want to believe that we could do Magnus Chase one day. Not right now. Because that would be scary. If they try to do Magnus Chase right now, it wouldn't be good.
Oh, is there things in it that are...
There's a lot of trans people. Like, Alex is his, like, partner, and they're gender fluid, where they, like, change between looking like feminine and masculine, like changing, like, looking like a girl, sometimes looking more like a boy. And there's just, it's like, you know, the Norse gods where Loki can change forms like that a lot. And so, and even Magnus is pansexual. I know there's a couple in there that's never absolutely made canon, but people think that they're like a gay couple and stuff too. And so there's just a lot of themes of that. Like, the Norse gods, they change form like that. Gender doesn't mean anything to them. And so you can't have, like, Alex is, like, the thing that most people... I mean, I love Magnus too, but I really loved Alex. And most people really love Alex. And so it's like, it can't do that series. And right now, it wouldn't work for them to do it. It wouldn't be a good idea to do it right now. And I hate that, because I love that series. But it just is like that. Maybe in a couple of years they could do it, hopefully.
Yeah. I do love that Rick was just open to, let's teach everybody about mythology this way. Like, we'll just have a bunch of people from other cultures. And, like, I know one of the criticisms, especially of the first 5 books, is, like, why are we defending the West? Like, why is the entire mission to keep the West going? So I feel like this is also part of the penance of, like, I'm going to celebrate other cultures too.
Yeah, at least with those books, it's like Percy's not doing it because he's like, I need to defend Western civilization.
No, it's just, I need to defend these other kids.
Yeah, it's like Western civilization's in power whether we like it or not, and everyone will die. If it gets taken out this way, at least.
Yeah. And
that's all it is. It's like, I don't really care about this. It's just, they are what they are right now. That's better than you know, eugenics.
Yeah. Yeah, we have so many that are going to be on our reading list after this.
Yeah, we came out of this event and Mandy's like, we got to read all these books all the time. We have to get started now. I have to write my own book. We're going to write a book together. We're going to do everything.
So Titan's Curse, like, it was mentioned in passing about it currently filming. I mean, it's kind of funny because the passing reference to the movie was, like, when he got told the charge of, you changed your medium, which, like, changing from books over to television, he told the story, he's like, once Disney acquired Fox after something happened, which we don't have to talk about.
What the fuck is there a roller coaster?
What the fuck is Luke surfing? That the pearls are for booty calls. They are for Persephone booty calls. Why does Medusa have one?
You're a horrible writer. You're terrible at your job. Why are you doing this in my books? Stop it, please, before I kill myself.
My wife person, who is apparently sex trafficking people with pearls.
You're gonna trap him with the rock that he used to trap Odysseus? He's the only person that can move it.
He can pick it up.
He could just
basically makes him like Jesus.
The thing you can hold on to is a literal stick from her tree that you can't just remember her inside your head. We want children to watch our movie. What do kids like? Kids like roller coasters.
Oh my gosh.
I let Disney know, like, hey, you have the rights to Percy Jackson now. Could we do something with it? And he talked about how him and Becky are now in the writer's room with the executive producer title. And that gives them a little bit more influence on what happens. So, yeah, he just mentioned we're there in the writer's room every time. They're currently filming Titan's Curse. If we had a chance to ask more questions, the one that we came up with while we were, like, walking around was, wonder if they're going to actually do Blackjack, like, and how they'll do it. Like, I feel like you can't cut out Blackjack because he goes across multiple books at that point. But it's like, are they gonna stick Walker on like a regular horse and then animate wings in and have a voice, or how would they do Blackjack?
Or like, who are they gonna get to be the Blackjack voice?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's gonna be hilarious. So I'm hoping that Blackjack is a very big character for at least one episode of Titan's Curse. Eddie Murphy.
That would be so funny.
Yeah.
Just because I'm just picturing, I also started laughing, imagining Walker film that scene where he's just sitting on a horse talking to it.
Yes.
And just silence, just like playing off of a horse.
Yeah, because we like rewatched some of the episodes of the first season, and it's the one where they're on the train, and Shannon told me behind the scenes that in that scene, Leah's sitting on a booster seat. And so you like, now when you're watching, you're like, how is she so serious?
Yes. She's being so serious, and that she's like trying to protect Percy from being stabbed by the Chimera and all this stuff, and she's sitting in a booster seat.
Yeah.
About how they're doing season 3, they basically said, yes, me and Becky are executive producers. We're in all of the meetings and stuff, but no, we can't make every decision on the show because that's overwhelming. There's way too many things that go into making the show, but they are always in the room when it's going on, and so they're not like unaware of anything that's going on. But they said, like, as an example, he said that there's 500 people on like the call sheet every day. For on set, there's 500 people that come in every day to you know, film whatever scene they're working on. And he said, like, the scene that they're filming every day is only like 1 minute that's going to end up on screen, and just shows just like how much work goes into TV and how long it takes to film everything. And so there's no way they could like be the one making all those decisions, because that was literally all they would ever do.
Yeah.
Is if they were doing that, they have to like, I don't know, see their children and like also have like a life outside of just having endless meetings with people from Disney on Zoom and like giving them all these whatever. But they're obviously, Rick has to give the okay for every script. He has to give he gives the okay for every change that they ever make. And they give notes and then talk to Disney about all the notes that they want to do. And so they're not unaware of any of the changes that are happening or anything that they're doing. It's just impossible for them to be the one to make all those decisions all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, the episodes are pretty short. I think what, like, has always been the saving grace for this show and how it adapts the books is that there's so many fans working on it. The fact that a lot of people on the cast and crew have love for the Percy books just means that, like, at least, you know, the most important parts are being protected. Or I also do love some of the changes. We've talked about this countless times. The siren scene, of course, is the one we're all anxiously awaiting news on how it's changed, because we've heard it's changed, but not how. And so, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, like, what happens with Titan's Curse.
We don't know what changes they made in Sea of Monsters.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, like, those changes will probably influence the changes that they make depending on what they are. In season 3 too. Like, they're obviously going harder with Luke, like, trying to stab everybody, because whatever that clip is in the trailer with Percy, he never did that. And so whatever that is will probably influence how they write him and other characters too, probably in season 3.
Like, since we're doing an episode that doesn't have to just be Percy themed, let's talk about the Emma Watson thing really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Because we haven't been able to talk about this on camera. So, J.K. Rowling posted what turned out to be, I mean, some people were calling it 5 pages. It's hard to say because on Twitter you just scroll, but it was like, when did they ever blow out the character limit on X that much to make it that much different from Twitter, that she went on a huge rant because Emma said something that wasn't even mean in a podcast.
Her kindness and words of encouragement and that steadfastness, and also, honestly, just as a young woman, for her to have written that character, created that world, given me an opportunity, which, to be honest, barely exists in the history of English literature. You know, how can I, there's just no world in which I could ever cancel her out or cancel that out.
for anything. It has to remain true. It is true. And this is where this like holding of these, I just don't know what else to do other than hold these two seemingly incompatible things together at the same time and just hope maybe they will one day resolve or like co-join themselves, and maybe accept that they never will, but that they can both still be true. And I can love her. I can know she loved me. I can be grateful to her. I can know the things that she said are true. And there can be this whole other thing. And my job feels like to just hold all of it. But the bigger thing is just what she's done will never be taken away from me.
It is a hard place for her, for like the young ones to be in. And then J.K. Rowling, the tweet took me 4 screenshots to screenshot the whole thing, and I cut off like a couple of the last paragraphs at the end.
That's why people were saying 5 pages probably. Yeah.
It just went on forever of her just saying like just mean things about Emma Watson because she said that, and I was like, that's not even, she was being nice to her in that interview.
Yeah.
To try to probably avoid that sort of reaction happening, and she did it anyway. And she just like went on this like J.K. Rowling-esque tirade being like, Emma Watson never grew up poor. And so she doesn't know what it's like to be me, and she doesn't know how I have to protect people by closing rape crisis centers. Because that's basically what she said, was like, I need to defend these people, and I have to be out here doing this thing because I'm actually a martyr.
Yeah.
And I'm actually the hero in this story. And I was like, 1, you're not poor.
Mm-hmm.
You never grew up poor. You never even had like close to actually being poor. You like kind of were poor a little bit for a little bit, and like talked about how much you hated poor people the whole time.
Income support then was just under $70 a week all in. The first time I ever had to go into a post office and pick up my benefit, I felt everyone knew why I was there. It was as if I was in a clinic for some horrible illness.
Damn. She really is disgusted by the idea of people thinking she was poor in any way.
One bed, she was like, the kitchen and the living room were in the same place. I'm like, I live in a studio.
Yeah.
Like, usually when we podcast, my bed is right behind me because it's a studio. And I've lived there for 5 years. I'm fine living there. It's fine living there. But she was, like, saying, crying, acting like mice were in the walls and that it was not heated when it actually was.
Yeah.
It was a one bedroom.
Yeah, so,
you could have been living in a DV shelter, for God's sake.
Yeah, so her rant harping on about Emma's so privileged, she's been famous her whole life, and so she doesn't know what it's like to be in a mixed gym locker room or have, like boys in your bathroom at school and weird shit like that. And like one of the ones that I want to point out too, she said something about mixed gender hospital wards. And it's like, you mean just a regular hospital ward?
A hospital?
Yeah, because I've never been in a hospital situation where they're like, no men can be here.
Are men gonna like crawl out of a hospital bed to do something?
Yeah.
Like, no, they're in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And also Emma in that interview talked about how her mom made her go to like regular school, and so she was in situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
But also like I can never take, obviously no one should take her seriously, but it is just wild to hear her be like, I have had to live through the terror of knowing that people are in the bathroom with me. And I'm like, do you want a cookie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot worse things to go through. Emma Watson dealt with people counting down to her birthday and paparazzi trying to take pictures like underneath her skirt.
The toys, yeah, Shannon brought that up yesterday.
Oh yeah, that when she was on benefits, was what they call it in the UK. Somebody came by to give her toys for her daughter because she left her abusive husband when her daughter was a baby, basically. And she talked about how horrible and like gross the toys were, and then said like, I could never give these to my daughter, and threw them away. And I was like, you couldn't just like give them to somebody else, like go to like their version of Goodwill or whatever they would have there, like a thrift store kind of place where somebody, it's like, you are not poor. Mm-mm. When you are poor, especially if somebody comes to give your baby like toys to play with, And when you're actually if you're actually that poor, you would never give that stuff away or be so grossed out by it that you throw it away instead of giving it to somebody else.
Plastic people who should have been living in it, and a pull-along telephone. If I'd felt humiliated before, it was nothing to how I felt when I looked at that teddy bear. I didn't give it to Jessica. I stuffed it into a bin bag and pretended I hadn't seen it.
Well, Joe, I don't think your baby is going to be as snotty about getting a free teddy bear, but sure, let's deprive the child of joy because you're humiliated by having to live like millions of people. God, throwing the toys out instead of donating them again is so gross.
I mean, I have a hard time imagining them, like, it's a charity situation. We're giving away toys that kids wouldn't like or at least cognitively stimulating for a baby. You know, like things with good colors, very tactile, because you can do that pretty cheaply if you really want to. It's just so crazy. I mean, some people have been pointing out the misogyny of her targeting Emma specifically, because Emma's not the only one who's mentioned her transphobia. And, like, yes, it's the most recent, but, like, why did you wait for Emma? Yeah.
When you look at the Harry Potter books, and Goblet of Fire is the one when they stopped editing her because it was so huge by then, they just let her do whatever she wanted. Not only is that book, like, twice as long as the other ones, but that is the book where she has a guy when they're going to Quidditch wearing a dress, and they describe him like he's a crazy person for wanting to wear a dress.
Yeah.
They have the whole storyline of Rita Skeeter, like, hiding out and, like, turning into other animals and stuff that feels like a trans allegory. And Hermione, especially, like, her self-insert person, is so overly cruel to Rita Skeeter in that book. Then you have Molly being horrible to Hermione as well. And you have the whole spew story.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, none of those things would have happened if there was an editor being like, are you writing a storyline telling people that slaves are actually happy being slaves?
Yeah, it's so weird. It was so strange. Now that, like, looking back on it is crazy because I was a kid when this stuff happened. It makes her being so weird about trans women especially is just, like, such a big question mark to me of, like, how are these two things connected for you?
I also didn't like in her little thing how she said, like, about Emma, like, oh, I was on set with you teaching you how to read your lines and, like, say your lines at a big movie set. I'm like, no, you weren't.
Not your job.
That is not your job. Are you making stuff up now? You're not the writer or the editor or, like, the producer or director or that person that is on set that's in charge of making sure they say the lines correctly in the script. And, like, the acting coach, those are the people whose jobs it was to help those tiny little children that you cast in your movie to actually know how to say the lines in the right way on a huge movie set. Like, you are not, there's no way that she was personally there being like, let me give you advice about acting. Me, J.K. Rowling, somebody who's been a very privileged writer her entire life, has never acted.
Yeah, that's
Ever?
a good question. I also wonder why Beauxbaton and Drumstring were decided to be, like, one gender in the books. Yeah, because I do remember there being a male student in Beauxbaton, at least. I don't remember female Drumstring students as much, but
like,
it's been a while.
They're so hyper, like, one is super hyper masculine and one is super hyper feminine, where, like, Fleur is always last in all of the events. Like, she's too,
what
like,
was that? She's good enough to qualify, but she can't even place first in at least one event?
That because she's feminine, she has to be, like, weaker than everybody else. Like, that Harry has to rescue her when she's an adult and Harry's 14.
Yeah.
In that book, she should have been the one helping him instead of the other way around. And it's just stuff like that you just look at and you're like, what is...
Yeah. And one thing I was saying, because Emma hasn't responded that we've heard about yet, and I hope she doesn't. I hope she just leaves this and is like, crazy lady, keep talking to yourself. I'm gonna be over here just doing my thing. Isn't she, like, in a rowing, like, thing for school now?
Yeah, she's living her life and having a nice time being Emma Watson. That happening at the same time as the whole Alchemized book coming out has been really interesting to see people doing that.
Yeah, we have one friend that's been reading it and kind of, like, reporting, like, a little bit here and there. And with the Alchemized, like, fan fiction turned into a real book, what's crazy about it is that like, it still relies on the Harry Potter magic system from what we've heard. And so you're trying to say it's this new separate thing. We don't support J.K. Rowling, but you're using the universe she created.
Yeah. It's just, if you write a fan fiction about whatever it is, whatever fandom it is always going to be connected to that fandom no matter what. You can never change it enough to make it not be that. It's always going to be a Harry Potter fan fiction, no matter what you do. If you don't want it to be attached to that, then you have to write a completely different story.
Yeah.
Because the whole reason she wrote that story in the first place was to show, like, how people would have been treated if Voldemort won. That is the context to show, like, how the world was already a very bad place that J.K. Rowling created because she's an idiot. And that was the whole reason why she wrote that story. And so if you take Harry Potter out of the story, there is no story left. Like, what is left after you take the entire reason why you wrote it in the first place out of the story?
And I kind of like for Rick that he's slowing down now and that he's shifting more into publisher and producer mode, because, like, I don't know, it's like a retirement without being retired, where you could just be like, I get to let go of my universe a little bit and see what cool things people can do with it, which I think as a teacher is why he's able to do that so well. A lot of other people, it'll be like, I don't want to give up my baby of this, like, universe I created. And for him, it's like, okay, I created this baby. I'm done with it. So what can you do with it?
I think Rick's always had the idea of doing this as a way to, like, you know, help teach people whatever they need to learn. And so I think they've always kind of had the outlook of, like, we don't want this to end with us. We want this to continue on because it is something that helps a lot of people. It doesn't need to stop with it. Like, it doesn't, like, everyone knows his kind of voice, but it doesn't have to be, like, the end-all to be-all when they don't want to do it anymore. They can just have somebody else do it.
Yeah, and I do appreciate him saying middle grade is where I excel in what I know, and I just don't think that I'm up for, you know, like, writing an older book with Percy, with these characters. I think being honest about that is going to lead to a better result. I mean, the crowd energy was great there last night. Becky mentioned it seemed like we were all quiet when they played the book trailer. But honestly, for me, it was more like, what are we watching right now? Because it wasn't, you could tell it wasn't the show, that it wasn't related to the show, but you're like, what is this video? And I
hadn't watched the book trailer yet. There was a little kid that saw my Medusa shirt. This was, like, the nice highlight of the night for me. Where he saw my shirt and he was like, Medusa! I loved her on the TV show. And I was like, that is the most adorable thing that's ever happened to me.
The gods gave me is that I cannot be bullied anymore.
Yes, yeah, that was definitely a highlight. So many people wearing just their Percy gear, which was cool. We need to get you a shirt. Yeah, and I want to get a Camp Jupiter shirt because that orange on, I don't like the orange on me, but, like, also, I just have a feeling once we get to the Heroes of Olympus books that I'm going to like Camp Jupiter a lot.
Yeah, I think you're going to like Hazel a lot. Hazel's the best.
I don't know. And also, like, just kind of a big takeaway for us, too, is both of us have thought about writing for such a long time, and it's been like, oh, this is possible. Like, it's not only possible, but it could be good. And so, it's something that we've been, like, talking about more and more in the background of, like, someone needs to write this book. Someone needs to write this book.
Yeah, and then we're like, do we have to do it? Because nobody else would do it the way that we want them to.
No matter how we end up doing it, if we end up writing separate books or we end up, like, collaborating on something, it's going to be very heavily influenced on each other, probably. Yeah,
so we'll read each other's books and critique them so we don't end up going online and hearing people critique them like we have Madeline Miller.
Yes. Yeah, so kind of like the other thing we've been talking about too is an eventual want, but we're both broke, is to do a Percy, like, book tour type of thing of our own where we visit lots of stops from the Percy books, the named locations and stuff. Of course, there's a lot here in the Bay Area, but Shannon had such a short trip and I didn't have a car for some of it, so couldn't do as many of the Bay Area sites. But we'll probably end up doing a trip to Mount Tam. We talked about going to Hoover Dam. Like, we've been talking about that one, since we read Titan's Curse, because it would just be a funny one. Potentially planning a trip to Chicago, but maybe we could also visit like Indianapolis or like somewhere else in that area. But Chicago's one that I could probably feasibly make my family do because in Chicago, they're going to have a Pokemon fossil exhibit in the Field Museum. And so the Field Museum, like, if I can get that trip going so that William can get his Pokemon fix, I could probably get something to, like,
Jake
we could stay
just
here
come
a few.
by, just so he isn't at home by himself, missing out on everything.
Yeah, he'd probably spend most of the time with William while we're off doing Percy Jackson adventures. Yeah, we will have more content. We're doing 13, 14, 15 for the book for Monday, okay? So I'll get this on our drive so that Shannon can get it up on YouTube, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
It's Percy Jackson.